Thank you, Stephen, and thank you, Seth, for having me, and thank you all for coming. It's nice of you to show up, and we'll try to make it worth your while here. My suggestion is to try to get one thing from today, and when you do, just go back to whatever you have to do on your laptops and your phones. So hopefully you'll get it the first 5 minutes. You can get a lot of stuff done today. You can be productive. If you don't, then stick with us at the end. There might be something worth taking. It's my pleasure to be here, and I live in Palo Alto, California, right in the heart of Silicon Valley. Moved out there 10 years ago after I graduated, and we're going to talk about a number of things, but as Stephen said, let's start with this picture. Who can tell me, just by raise of hands, is the entrepreneur the person on the right, this gentleman, or is it this gentleman on the right, or on the left? If you think it's the guy on the left, raise your hand. Okay. Hi, raise them high. Let's see it. Okay. And if you think it's the guy on the right, raise your hand. Okay, it's about 60-40. Okay. So Startup Grind is a community for entrepreneurs aimed at educating and inspiring them. We have 3 really simple values. And those are to give more than you take, to help others before you help yourself, and to make friends. Startup Grind is not about LinkedIn connections. It's not about business cards. LinkedIn connections don't matter. LinkedIn connections will not get you a deal done. Relationships, friendships, helping people will end up helping yourself and getting things done. There we go. In the last 4 years, we've hosted 3,000 events for about 150,000 people in 80 countries. These people that you see here each represents one city. I just saw one guy as I turn around, our gentleman from Melbourne. Just him alone, one person here has hosted about 50 events for Startup Grind over the last 4 years. These people are the core of our community, and hopefully some of you have attended our event here in Utah, run by Doug Leonard, wherever he is. He's somewhere here. Doug. We now have 225 chapters around the world. 4 years ago, we had 2. And I'm not going to really talk a lot about how we grew Startup Grind, because a lot of it is not relevant to where you are today. And so I've given lots of talks on how we grew Startup Grind. If that's interesting to you, you can go watch those. I'm going to talk about some other things. We've got 20 million minutes that have been watched. Everybody, like if you name it, if they founded an important company in technology in the last few years, they've probably spoken Startup Grind. The founders of Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest, Twitter, Mark Andreessen, Clay Christensen. So we've been lucky to have them. We've never paid a speaker, not one time. And this is the value of playing the long game. And we've always said it's about educating entrepreneurs, about helping entrepreneurs. Will you help entrepreneurs? And sometimes people say no, but a lot of times they say yes. And over time, if they say no, usually they wear down and they say yes eventually. This is my email address. It's Derek@StartupGrind. This is not my spam email. This is my email. I am happy to be helpful to anyone in this room that I can be helpful to. These are things I can be helpful with. Startup advice, VC questions, team problems. Things I'm not helpful with. I'm not the monopoly guy, despite how I look. I don't invest in companies. I am an entrepreneur. I am hopefully like you or what you aspire to be. And picking my brain. I hate meetings. Whenever somebody says, "Can I pick your brain?" It sounds to me like that's like when the zombie apocalypse happens. Like this is like I'm going to get my brain picked. It just. Please don't email me and ask me to pick my brain. But if there's something I can help with, if there's somebody that you should meet or a question you have, please let me know. I will look at it about 5 minutes after you send it. You maybe have seen this before, but when I sat in this class my freshman year, my first semester, this is exactly what I believed. And 10 years or 15 years since my freshman year, but 10 years since I left, I realized for virtually everyone, every entrepreneur you ever read about, anyone you see on a magazine cover, it is much more like this. And anybody that tells you differently is lying. If they tell you how awesome they are or how successful or smart they were, I'm telling you, they're almost certainly lying about it. What's different about them is what we're going to talk about today. So this is my journey, and we're going to start about 10 years ago. I was standing up by the library, and I got a call for an internship at Electronic Arts. And I was like, EA, and 10 years ago, EA was like one of the top 10 internships in the country. It's like one of the coolest entertainment brands. I've always played too many video games. Like, what a cool place to work. And they said, this was in December 15th, and they said, we've got an internship for you. You need to be here on January 9th. I said, well, I'm enrolled in classes. I got my Sundance pass, which I'm stoked about. I got a housing contract, but I'll see you guys in April. This will be great. And no, that's not how it works. You can come now, or you can go to the back of the line like everybody else and apply in summer, and you probably won't get it because it's much more competitive. And it was one of these moments where it's like opportunity came knocking, and it didn't really make that much sense. But there were certain pieces of it that did make sense, and I didn't know if I was going to make any money, and I've always worked through school, and so I kind of got back on the phone and said, well, maybe I can take it. Does it pay any money? I decided I was going to do it. It's like I'm going to do it no matter what, and they said, no, we're going to pay you $15 an hour, and you come out, we're going to do this. I was like, wow, cool, okay. So I sold my pass, I dropped my classes, drove my car out to Silicon Valley where I'd never been before, and worked at EA. And what happened was I realized that I actually had the worst internship in the company. And I don't think anyone else applied for it, honestly. I was up there, I was doing this online marketing, and it wasn't really what I was interested in, but I just wanted to be at EA and get free video games. And so, but every morning I was meeting people. I was playing basketball with the people. They have this really cool gym there. It's like one of these perks that big companies do. They this really nice gym, right on campus. And you'll never want to leave campus. And I'm playing basketball with senior executives at EA. And so about 3 months in, I'm about a month before I leave, I'm in a conference room with a very senior guy at EA. And he's like, so what are you doing this summer? And I'm like, well, I'm planning to go back to Provo. There's this girl I want to date. I'm going to be wakeboarding a lot. It's just the greatest place to be in the summer. And he's like, you're not doing that. And I'm like, no, that's the plan. That's what I'm doing. He's like, no, you're not doing that. What internships are available this summer? I was like, well, there's this one. And there was an internship for The Godfather, the video game, which hopefully none of you have seen the movie. But this was the hottest video game of the year. It was a $350 million budget. And this was the best internship in the company. And he said, oh, Dave Rosen's running that. He's the guy we play basketball with. He walks to the middle of the conference room. I'm like, I'm not doing it. He walks to the conference room, picks up the phone, calls him and says, leaves a message that says, you need to hire Derek for this internship. Call me as soon as you get this. Hangs up. Okay, I guess I'm going to be here for the summer. So I came back. I got the internship. I came back, and when I left at the end of that summer, I had a job for the next year. And I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I didn't have an idea that I felt like was worth putting my whole family and my career on the line for at that time. And I made a list of the top 10 companies I want to work for. And if I could go back and make that list again, I would have made a list of the top 10 startups that I wanted to work for. And I had joined Facebook in December of 2004 when they came to Provo, or when it came to BYU. And Facebook was in Palo Alto. And if I had made a list of the top 10 companies, Facebook would have been there. I don't know if I could have worked there. But if you want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to be in a startup, might I recommend going to a startup and learning and taking some risks there and trying to get your feet underneath you and gain some real skills. But if you can get a job at Google, you can get a job at EA. Facebook is, at this point, is more like Google than it is a startup, for sure. But there's a lot of great experiences you can get there. But I started to get dissatisfied a couple years in. I started to get really antsy. I would stay up really late until the middle of the night. I'd just lay in bed thinking about these ideas that I wanted to build. And I had this experience at EA where I'm the first guy in and I'm the last guy out every day. And I was ranked in the top 2% of employees. And what I realized was, if I work 110% at EA, I could be in the top 2%. If I work 70%, I was like in the 90th percentile. And that seemed to make a lot more sense to me. So I started working like third guy in, third guy out, to last guy out. Started going to Starbucks in the morning working on this idea. This first thing I worked on is called Kahu Point. I won't bore you with the details. It was not a good idea. like many of the slides you're about to see. This was the first really bad idea. I got introduced to a guy named Josh Coates, who started Mozy, sold it for $80 million in 2 years. He's here. He's the CEO of Instructure now. And I got a meeting with him, and I'm like, I'm going to talk to Josh Coates, and like, this is it. This is my moment. You know what I mean? And you get into this meeting, and it's like, I'm ready, you know. It's like when you're going to go on a date, or like, you know, you're going to that big, huge intramural game you've got coming up, you know, and you're D2, but it's still big. And you're like, I'm just going to do it. And then about 5 minutes in the meeting, you go from being this guy to being something more like this guy. You know who you are, the guy, it's like a King Henry kind of guy. You guys know what I'm talking about. And what he says to me, and Josh is a very honest guy, and I highly recommend being honest with people. Not ethically honest, of course you know that, but tell people the truth. Y Combinator is the #1 incubator accelerator in the world. They always tell people no who don't get in. It makes people send them hate mail, but other people greatly respect it. And as I've gotten rejected from there more than once, I have greatly respected the closure that those things bring. And he said, look, Derek, you're screwed. He said, this isn't going to work. You're not technical. You've never built a product. I don't even know if this idea is any good. I don't know what you're going to do. He wasn't mean about it. But I remember right where I was when I took that phone call. You remember everything about it. It crushed me. But he said, I know these two guys are working on this thing. It's kind of the same space. And like, you should just talk to them. I gave them $50,000. They're BYU guys. They're working on this thing called Instructure. So these two guys drive out in their like burnt out Pinto. I mean, like this crappy old car. They drive out. They were like wearing the missionary like white shirts they hadn't thrown away when they came home, which everyone knows you're supposed to do. Throw away all your missionary clothes when you come home. And we met and we talked about Instructure. And I realized as I was sitting there that if I was passionate about this idea, here were two really smart CS guys who had a prototype and who were way further ahead of me, and they had all the things I didn't have. And so I said, if I'm going to go after this market, I should do it with these guys. And I just threw my thing to the side, and I created a marketing plan for those guys, the first marketing plan they had. And as I was doing that, I realized, what am I doing? I'm not even passionate about this. I hate Blackboard, but like I don't like, you know, Josh, when he talks about Blackboard, it's like, you know, it's like this, you know, this the horrible disease in Africa. You know, I didn't care about it that much, and I decided this isn't for me. These guys went on. I think BYU uses Instructure. You must, right? Do you not? What does BYU use? Blackboard or Instructure? Canvas? Here's Canvas? Don't use it? Oh, wow. Learning Suite. Okay, well, IPO'd. In the last year, I don't know, worth $300, $400, $500 million, depending on where the stock price is. Josh became the CEO. The founders, you know, took it a long ways, and then Josh kind of came in and got across the line. But I saw this. I was part of this, and it was because I was a BYU grad. I saw these people. So I go back to EA, and I'm like, that's it. I got to find something else. My wife, you know, we find out my wife's gonna have a baby. I'm like, perfect. What a great moment for me to like cut the cord. Then when the baby is born, I can set a date. We have a date. It's 6 months ahead. And that day, I'm going to quit my job the day the baby's born. That just makes so much sense, doesn't it? Not only that, it was the summer of 2009. It's the middle of the Great Recession. So to give you a sense, I mean, people were panicked. Apple in December of 2008 dropped to like $89 a share. Before they split stock, it got up to about in the 600s. Okay, so like even Apple, after the iPhone, after the iPod, you know, it was a really terrible time. My dad, who has always been supportive of me, told me, are you sure? Are you sure this is what you want to do? And my wife had the baby. We waited 6 weeks. Everybody's healthy. I told my boss I'm going to quit. And my boss says, look, if you stay, we'll give you a double promotion, and we'll give you a 25% raise. I was like, really? In the middle of a recession? Wow. Can I think about it? I say, really? You want to think about it? Okay, yeah, go think about it. And I got off the phone, and I realized that if this didn't get me excited, what would? Like, I'd been promoted every year. I'd worked really hard. had lots of friends in the organization, and it still wasn't for me. And I knew at that moment, regardless of money, it didn't matter, I had to leave. And, it took me 4 years to make the same amount of money paying for myself of what that guy offered me that day. 4 years. 4 years. Was it worth it? No, but it was hard. So what great idea do I want to quit for this time? Wow, my best friend at BYU worked for a trucking company, and I'm this marketing guy. Do the math, guys. What's the best idea we can come up with? A truck advertising company, of course. His truck stuff and my marketing skills, like, boom, it's match made in heaven. It's perfect. This was not perfect. This is like a terrible idea. First of all, I hate trucks. Like, I hate trucks. I see trucks on the road, I hate them. And now I'm like staring at them all day long. It's like not what I hoped for my life. And my friend had triplets. He couldn't quit his job. So 3 months after leaving EA, I have tried every single day as hard as I can to sell this idea, to raise money. And I'm not the best salesman in the world, but I'm certainly not the worst. And in 3 months, I could not sell one truck ad, not a single ad. I had all these friends in marketing. No one would buy it. And that led to the next opportunity. A friend of mine who I met my freshman year at BYU. See a theme? My freshman year at BYU was a guy named Zach James. And he was starting a company called movieclips.com. And he flew up to see me in my windowless conference room, and he said, "You should do marketing for us." And I'm like, "No, I am totally focused on the trucks. Like, nothing can stand in my way of truck advertising." Just sounds stupid, doesn't it? Just saying it, you're like, really? You thought that? No, I was living it. I'm all about trucks. And so he says, "Well, what about just like 20 hours a week? What can you do part-time? Like, we'll pay your bills." And I hadn't made any money. So I was like, "Well, what could you pay me?" I remember right where it was, on the phone, sitting in my living room. "Well, we could pay you $80 an hour." Well, Zach, I couldn't do it for anything less than 85. There's no way. Zach, if you ever watch this, thank you for doing that. You saved me. But I started working on movie clips. 5 guys in a little dingy room in Santa Monica, and they had this idea. They'd raised some money, and I helped them with the marketing. Let's see here. There we go. Anybody heard of movie clips? If you watch a trailer on YouTube, it's probably Movie Clips trailer. Okay, so was that the groan from like, oh, did you turn on equity again and something like that? 1%, that was the offer. 1%, join the team, run the marketing. In 2009. It's going to get worse. Movie clips wasn't actually the big idea. What Zach and Rich figured out was once they got in the game and they raised a little money and they realized this was not a billion-dollar business, but it was a really nice business. And so as they were doing it, they were putting all these videos on YouTube, and then they realized, hey, well, YouTube's got all these clips that the movie studios aren't licensing, so what if we like build technology that we can like suck those out and like monetize those? And then they had all these relationships with the studios. So long story short, Movie Clips sells to Fandango for $20 million a couple years ago. Zephyr, the new company, is worth $500 million. But that was not the idea. The idea was this. And many people said this was not a good, big idea. And they were right, but the people figured it out. Zach and Rich. I got to see it. Steve Young football, early 2010, day after the iPad comes out. So I stopped working with the Movie Clips guys. I'm brainstorming with this other guy, and he's like, let's build an iPad game. You worked at EA. Didn't you make games? Yeah. I made lots of games. Yeah, in product marketing. Totally. It was a huge game builder. He's like, great, let me give you $250,000. You go build a team, you figure it out. Okay, another great idea. Yeah, let me do that. Take the money, build a team, spend 9 months of my life on this game, work with, I said, I don't know about a football game, but maybe somebody branded it. There's somebody's like, well, I know Steve, so, oh, okay, cool. Well, you call Steve or whatever that is, and then get him on board. So Steve Young came on board. I'll tell you something about Steve Young. Steve Young's taught me two things. One is that he told me, Steve Young is worth a lot of money. I don't know how much, but I know it's a lot. And he has told me that once you pay for your cars and your mortgage, there's not much else to buy. That's great advice. When you're chasing money, money's a great motivator, but it's not the end-all be-all. Pay for your cars, pay for your mortgage, go on vacations. There's not a lot else to buy. He still drives his car that he had when he was in Provo. Okay? He also said, whatever I make from the game, I'll immediately give it to my charity. I don't care how much it is, how small or big. I'll give it all to them. He doesn't care. He's not motivated by it. Big example for me. We build this game. What's the most important thing about building a game? What's the most important thing about a game? Who can tell me? There's got to be some game people in here. What's the most important thing about a game? Yes, sir.
Simplicity.
Okay, simplicity is important. What else?
Progression.
What?
Progression.
Okay, that's important. Yeah?
It's gotta be fun.
It's got to be fun. Games are meant to be fun. If the game's not fun, it's not a good game. Pretty simple. And it's got to have a mechanic that you can do like thousands of times. That's why Angry Birds is a fun game. And that's why, I don't even know, I'm not a big gamer anymore, so I'm not even going to start naming games. But it's got the same thing like 1,000 times, and you could do it in your sleep, and it's just really fun. Flappy Bird, you just go like this the whole time. It's still fun. So stupid. So, well, what we screwed up was that we're building this game, and it wasn't any fun. And so 3 months in, we had this mini game inside of this game. And this is a lesson I had to learn the hard way. And if I could go back, I think we would have built a good game. We're building this mini game, and it was top-down Steve Young. This is a really kooky game where like he would like dodge tornadoes and like pigs and stuff that we would like throw on the field, and then he would like try to score a touchdown around him. Super crazy good idea, huh? And so like we had this mini game where he would like dodge stuff like this, and you just kind of look top-down at him as he was running, and you just swipe left and right to move. What does that sound like? Does that sound like a game? Sounds like Temple Run. It was the game mechanic to Temple Run. Only it was like a year before Temple Run. So we're like right at the beginning of the iPad. And in 2 days, it was more fun than the game we had spent 3 months on. Graphics don't make a game fun. Okay? It's like lipstick on a pig. Like, it doesn't matter, it's still a pig. So I went to the investor and I said, look at this mini game. It's pretty fun. We just started on it. He's like, we agreed to build this thing. So I don't know what you're doing. And being an inexperienced entrepreneur, I said, you're right. And we kept building that thing, and it was like watching a train crash. When if we had stopped, what I should have done was taken 2 weeks, built a really cool prototype, and then brought it in and been like, look how fun this is. And he would have done it in a second. Gizmodo called our advertising the best app ad they'd ever seen. Thank you very much. From you can applause for me because that was something I did. But nobody liked the game. They hated the game. The game wasn't fun. So the same people who were like, great advertising, they're like, wow, horrible product. Or like a tweet. This tweet still haunts me. Guy's like, this is the coolest game. And then like 2 days later, he's like, oh, I see where they spent their money in the marketing. What's great marketing? About this same time, a friend and I started hosting an event in my office called Startup Grind. It was just 9 people getting together. We did it every month. About 6 months in, we hosted an event and 4 people showed up. And I got in the car and I said, what a freaking waste of time. Like, I'm trying to make this game go. I got this family. Like, I'm wasting my time on this dumb event with no one even coming. And I have tried to retrace the steps of what changed for me to give it one last shot. But I swear, this is not an exaggeration. I was giving it one last shot. And I waited 2 months, and I ramped it all up. And we invited a speaker to come, and 40 people showed up. We didn't really try that hard. I mean, we sort of tried hard, but it was a couple days a month. And then the next month after that, 80 people showed up. And the next month after that, 130 people showed up. And it had this organic energy that nothing else I'd ever worked on had. All the best ideas have this, okay? Because in the beginning, you have no money, and you have no people. And so there has to be this inertia that just happens with this idea if it's ever going to make any progress. A lot of that's you, But the great ideas have something extra that you can't buy and you can't really force, like a good relationship. You can't really force it. It just kind of happens. And that's my experience with startups. This speaker said, I'll come, but I won't do a talk. You have to interview me. I said, no problem, I'll interview you. And so we sat down, and I interviewed him, and we've been doing fireside chats ever since. Because it was easy for the speaker to show up. It was good for me to get to know him and to talk to him, and it was good for the audience because they didn't get a sales pitch. 6 months later, 250 people are showing up. It's still a side project. And then I have this experience. So I see this guy walk in. We had food to motivate people as well, like your events. And I see this guy walk in, and he stacks 10 pieces of pizza before the event's even started, and he walks out. In my mind, he looks like this person right here. But I was like, this guy isn't like me. What is he doing? He's here for the food? It's like the worst food we could buy. It's the cheapest. Like, who goes out of their way to go to an event that has Domino's pizza? Like, I got to go to that event and get those pieces. Like, I can't miss this right now. And I was like, how do I keep this guy from coming back? It's like, well, I'll just start charging. I was running out of money. We hadn't made any money on this. We were just always paying for it. And so we charged the next event, and guess what? 60% of the people came back, but they paid. And more importantly, it was the highest quality 60%. All the startup losers stopped coming. And that was awesome because the networking got good. You sat next to somebody more interesting, and you weren't these mooches just coming for food and just to pitch people's brains out. You know, people were there to make friends, and that's what it was all about. At the same time, a guy approached me, came out of the audience just like this, and he said, I love the brand, I love the values, I love the community. Can I do this in my city? And I said, what a dumb idea. Why would you want to do this in LA? There's probably 100 events just like this. He's like, no, there's not. I'm telling you, this is cool. We should do this. We started doing it in LA. Our first speakers were the Zephyr guys, Zach and Rich Radden. And it worked. And that was about 4 years ago. The same time, I talked to two mentors who said, man, the startup grind's kind of cool. It's like you got all these people coming, and there's this organic momentum. Maybe you should focus on that. And I had another guy talk to me. He's like, it just seems to be going well. And he's start these things, right? Like, Derek, do you want to take this and run with it, or do you want to waste your time with something else? And so I took the company I was working on, I sold it, and we put all of our energy into this. And we moved into the garage. This is a day where it's clean because somebody came to take a picture. But this is literally us for a year and a half. This is not some stupid PR thing. Dude there, Francisco, interned for me 4 years ago. He still sits next to me 4 years later. Denise was our first sponsor. She came in and started selling sponsorships. And we were like this global organization in a garage in Palo Alto. And I'd have these people like the university president from the Tech de Monterey. It's like 30 universities. He's like the chairman of the board. And they want to meet with you. It's like, okay, cool. Well, here's the address. It's like, well, how do they get in the building? It's like, well, you just walk through the front gate, and then there's a door that goes into the garage, and you just knock, and we'll probably be 10 feet from that door. And they roll in. This happened over and over again. We had these guys from South Africa that it's like the minister of technology, and I swear he was a warlord 10 years earlier, and he came into and he's and we're just hey, we're Startup Grind, and but we had something, and right idea, right people at the right time. None of the other things you heard could hit any of those. And we've grown to, we'll probably be in about 300 chapters by the end of this year. We're doing a lot of events. It's not really that important. Couple of interesting things. I'm going to skip this. Couple of things that are important to us that I'm very proud of. In May every year, we have 100 female entrepreneurs that speak at our events in 100 different cities. And we make a big point to have a diverse audience of speakers, both minorities, female entrepreneurs, and we're very proud of this. These are my chapter directors: Israel on the ends, Tehran, Palestine, and me in the U.S. In the UN, when people speak from these countries, everybody walks out. At Startup Grind, we listen. Let me share a couple of things I was thinking about for if I was sitting in your seat. There's a book by Clay Christensen called How We Measure Your Life. It talks about 3 things. How to not go to jail, how to not have your husband or wife hate you, or how to not have your wife divorce you, husband or wife divorce you, or your kids hate you. Seems funny, right? Oh, come on. That's the world. That's not us. These things have all happened to my friends from BYU. I don't have a lot of people who have gone to jail, and maybe our kids are too young to hate us yet, but I have people whose wives have left them. I have people who have ruined their marriages, and these were good people. These were assistants. These were term missionaries. This is you and me. And I work every day at not having these things happen. Now, I don't think I'm close. I hope I'm not close. Go ask my wife. But it's an everyday thing, and it starts here. Who are you? Who are you going to be? Please read this book, How to Measure Your Life. And your kids. Those aren't my kids. Those are my kids, sir. Sorry. Don't have your designer do your deck without looking at it. Kids are funny because, they don't care so much if you're home in the mornings, but at night, if you're not there, it's Armageddon, it's end of the world. And at least my kids. And so there are certain things I can do, and there's certain things I can't do. But as an entrepreneur, one of the things you have is flexibility. And so every night I'm home having dinner with my family. And I put them in bed and I go back to work. I stay at home. This doesn't mean I work any less hard than anybody else. But my life evolves around, my startup evolves around my life. A lot of times in our community, there's this sense of there's an opportunity or a success pool, and we're all drinking from the same well. And if what's your name? Grant. If Grant's startup or his business takes off and he's really successful, then he's taking from me. This is the biggest fallacy in business. And we are, as LDS people, are particularly susceptible to this. I am in a race, not against Grant. I look at my race, who plays Mario Kart? You know that ghost that goes around? That's who I'm competing against. My own ghost. And I try to catch him, and I'm trying to keep up, and I'm trying to beat my potential. But if Grant is successful, then I'm stoked for Grant. And I wish as BYU people, we would become known for celebrating the success of others. I wish we would. When somebody does something great, I want to be the first guy to call him, the first guy to hug him, the first guy to take him to lunch and hear all about it. Because his success or her success is my success. So let's all stop hating. Opportunity, I keep knocking on the wood. Opportunity is not something that just happens to lucky people. Opportunity is like a muscle. And over time, I have found that people that flex that muscle, people that work that muscle, they get more of that muscle, they get more opportunity. That's why Peter Thiel, who started PayPal, made the first investment in Facebook and now runs a $3 billion VC fund. It's because he has taken opportunities over time. He has dropped out of his classes or her classes and sold her Sundance pass and gone and done the worst internship at a company that seemed like a good opportunity. I believe everyone gets a chance. It's a merry-go-round. And you try to jump on, and you might fall on your face. We all have. You've heard me lay it all out for you here. That's just the first 7 years of me being an entrepreneur. Well, you can't imagine the damage I'm going to do over the next 7 years. But at the moment, I'm riding the merry-go-round. I'm holding on tight, trying not to fall off, and trying to keep up. You will all get a chance if you come to play. Everyone. But you know what? Most people don't. Most people just give up. They go home. I'm not talking about endurance with you guys because I think as a community, something we do really well is we don't give up. It's ingrained in us for 170 years. People are going to fight you. People are going to kick you down. And you're going to get back up, and you're going to give another shot. That's who we are as people. And the world respects us for that. And we get credit for that. Don't make short-term decisions. When I go to McDonald's, as I'm getting out of the car with my kids because they're dying for a Happy Meal, my body starts to react. Do not eat that food. Do not eat that food. I will make you pay. I got to have a double cheeseburger, man. I used to always get those down by the red box. Then I get a red box, get a double cheeseburger. No, do not eat that. Let me give you an example of a short-term decision you're going to face. You have 4 to 6 summers here to decide what you're going to be in life. Let me tell you an internship you don't need to understand. If you served a mission, maybe if you didn't serve a mission, maybe you did. But if you served a mission, you don't need an internship to learn how to work hard. Okay? Let's stop lying about that. Like, you went for 2 years and you worked harder than anybody's ever worked in their whole life. Okay? Think about 10, 20 years from now who you want to be. Okay? A lot of people at BYU, a lot of people I went to school with, took the summers as a way to fill their coffers, to pay for upcoming bills. The earning potential that you have as a professional graduating from this university is so exponentially large compared to a $15,000 thing you can make in one summer. It is not even close. I was talking to my brother-in-law about this recently. He said, I'm going to go sell for the summer, and I don't want to be a salesman. He gets like almost straight A's. He's like, I don't want to be a salesman, but like, I just want to make some money and put some money in my account. I want to get married and all this stuff. And I said, well, what do you want to be? Do you want to be a salesman? Do you want to be? He's like, no, I want to be, I want to be this. So why aren't you going to go do that? And a few weeks later, he made a very tough decision. He got a very prestigious internship. He's not going to make any money. He's flying across the world, halfway across the world. He took the opportunity. He's going to have to figure out how to pay for it. But $15,000 is no reason to squander your college summer when you could be figuring out who you're going to be in life. I am wrapping up. Play the long game. Great teams win. These were the guys that were with me at BYU. Zach James, we already talked about. Jeremiah Robinson. Anybody see this guy in Shark Tank the other day? Beloved. $2.5 billion company, bootstrapped. Okay? Next door roommate in Helaman Halls. I would have never guessed. Honestly, I thought he might live with his parents. I love Jeremy to death, but I didn't know. Okay? Or I should have joined Beloved. Ryan Smith, we played Halo together. Qualtrics, anybody heard of Qualtrics? Yeah, you've all used Qualtrics. $1.5 billion, $2 billion company. We're playing Halo. I said, hey, I heard you're working on Star with your dad. What is it? Oh, it's enterprise surveys for schools. Oh, cool. That was the only question I asked. Like, I didn't care. It was so stupid. He's laughing now. The good days are today. This is my final thought. The good days are today. Enjoy being here. Have fun. Sometimes we're so stressed about having a family and getting a job and making money and keeping my parents happy. Just relax. These things are going to work out, okay? Don't always go to the library. Go do something fun once in a while, I'm just saying, my grades have never mattered. No one's ever asked me what my grades were. And I didn't try to get into Stanford or BYU's MBA program, but I didn't have a good GPA, and not once have I ever had to show somebody what my grades were. I got my degree, and I'm proud of that, and I'm grateful to be a part of this organization and this community at BYU. But the good days are today. Enjoy them while they last. Take a minute, take a breath. That goes for me too as an entrepreneur. When I didn't have any money and we're in the garage, we would step back and celebrate our wins and say, wow, we made $5,000 today. Let's celebrate, And even today, we just had our best quarter ever, and we stopped and we pulled back and said, let's celebrate this for a minute. That's my talk. Thank you for not leaving. Good to meet you. Oh, one more thing. I should have ended there. That was a good note, but I'm not going to ruin it. Which one's the entrepreneur? Let's hear it again. If you think it's the guy on the left, raise your hands. I'm sorry. It's the guy on the right. Raise your hands. Hi. If it's the guy on the left? Okay. All right. That's it. I don't know. That's it. Okay.